Okay, so the gameplay here is me doing the weekly challenge on Orcs Must Die 2, in which you're given a level and a character and a certain set of upgrades, not upgrades, traps and weapons with specific upgrades. That's one of the things it's not dependent on what upgrades you've unlocked, so it doesn't give an advantage to people who've upgraded the specific traps that it has. Now, me and Tazroth actually played this level a while back, and he found it rather useful to just set up floor burners directly facing the rifts, basically in the hopes of instantly killing any kobold sappers. And yeah, it worked pretty well. So I figured I'd try it. Basically, the name of this one was Fire Valley. Hence why
that's gonna leave a mark.
All the traps involve setting things on fire. Only weapon is the flame braces. Which is interesting, of course, because
hey, look, Rooster!
They obviously require mana to use, and well, you know, I'm used to always having a weapon that won't cost me anything, that I can just spam all the time. So, as you may be realizing, it took me a little while to adjust. Hence all this running away. But I do think there was increased AoE on the fireballs. It seems like that may have been a thing. So that's useful. I like the weekly challenge thing. I mean, you know, in some ways, obviously, it's kind of just a thing for, well, you know, let's make sure that people keep playing our game even once they've completed the campaign. But I don't really see a problem with that either. If you're keeping people playing your game by giving them more fun stuff to do, yeah, why not? And of course, I mean, the fact that, oh yeah, that was a cool thing, which I didn't realise. I didn't realise that floor burners could effectively end up acting as like miniature spring traps if something was standing on top of one when it flipped up. So that was cool. Yes, brimstone is a thing that I've never actually used before, because as I recall, in the original game it was like, it would apply once and then be gone forever, whereas now it does recharge slowly. So it's more potentially useful, and I may actually try using it in regular play at some point. But yeah, I like the weekly challenge concept, because although being forced to use a specific loadout of traps, it's always interesting having to do things differently to how you usually do. When in games like this, there's so much variety that in a lot of cases you'll just sort of pick your favourite things and use those all of the time. Anyway, though, I didn't really mean to be talking that much about the gameplay. The reason that I actually recorded this was simply because I just last week got a new laptop. My laptop is the only computer that I personally own. A lot of people will tell you that gaming on a laptop is not that good an idea. I never realised that kobold sappers could run over barricades. That's weird. Maybe they can only do it on partially damaged barricades. Regardless. Yeah, a lot of people will tell you that gaming on a laptop is not that good of an idea, but I've found, it works. Particularly you can get decently priced, decent spec laptops. Even more so if you're like me and you're willing to just reduce the graphics quality and so on of your games in order to get better performance. So yes, I just got a new laptop, and so I was testing out how well I could play games, how well I could record myself playing games. And yeah, it's working out reasonably, at least. But yeah, I mean, interestingly, I've been kind of feeling like I'm getting better, like slightly better performance out of my games in general if I just play them. But possibly a bit worse on recording them. Which, I mean, there are various reasons that could be the case. I'm not saying I know what those reasons are, because I'm not actually that knowledgeable about computers, but I've been Googling things. And, I mean, some of it also may be just that on my old laptop I'd been doing this for a while, so I'd set up the sort of things to, kind of try at least to like maximize the potential of how well I could game and record games on that laptop.
Nice.
Whereas this one, I've just got it, so there are various things that I probably did with my old laptop that I haven't done yet with this one. And I may not remember what all of them were.
Killing season.
Still kind of weird though. Anyway, this, obviously, as you can see, though, this
How many was that?
this recording worked out, well enough at least. So, yeah, interesting thing. Of course, I was talking about how you can get decently priced gaming laptops. Especially if you're willing to compromise on some things. Interestingly, the pricing was not where I had difficulty, or the specs. I mean,
That's a lot of dead orcs.
Obviously not the best specs because I wanted it to be cheap, but I expected that. And, like I said, I'm prepared to put quality down for better performance. I don't play a lot of really new games. I play a fair number of games which are like a few years old, and that with the settings turned down to get better performance out of them. So yeah, I didn't have that much difficulty finding possible laptops with acceptable specs within my sort of price range. What I actually had difficulty with, to my surprise, was operating system. Because based on everything I've heard about it, I wanted to avoid Windows 8 like the plague. And, I mean, obviously, Windows 8 is the new one, so a lot of things will be running it now. But I figured, that there might well be some older models of gaming laptops still on Windows 7, and because they were older models, they might be cheaper. oddly enough, not the case. I found assorted recommendations of like these were really good gaming laptops, a bit out of date, but whatever, and I'd find the laptops that they talked about, and it was like, well, yeah, okay, so most of them are on Windows 8, but here are some which are on Windows 7. Find them, oh no, obviously that list was too out of date. This laptop now only comes with Windows 8. Or, it's just, like, out of stock, they're not making it anymore.
Let's roll.
In some cases I found the equivalent models running Windows 7 which were considerably more expensive than the Windows 8 equivalents. I don't know why. And yeah, it was generally problematic. But I eventually found this, which a lot of people would probably say is nowhere near good enough for a gaming laptop.
Right
but
there, that's the spot.
that's because they're being elitist and snobby about it, and they think that a gaming laptop should be able to run the newest games on the highest settings. Whereas I'm pretty happy if it can run games on settings at all. Which it can. Like I said, possible difficulties with recording. I'm able to fiddle with some of the settings to get even better performance, but it's working. My mind just still sort of boggles at how I came across so many more expensive Windows 7. I could possibly have gotten, like, a lower price and slightly better specs if I'd settled for Windows 8, but I really didn't want to. So yeah, that was a thing. But whatever, games run. Ridiculous top leaderboard scores. Returning to the gameplay. Weirdly, because I was on my sorceress profile, like, she was the one who was displayed coming up above, like, the shield and waggling her eyebrows because I got 5 skulls, even though the weekly challenge specifically made me play with the War Mage. And yeah, anyway, it was fun.